On December 11th, 2005, east of the Farallon Islands, about 18 miles off San Francisco, a female humpback whale was found wrapped in crab lines. She was about 45 to 50 feet long, close to 50 tons, and at least 12 crab traps, each weighing around 90 pounds, were dragging her downward like iron anchors. The ocean was wide open, but every movement made the trap worse. Then 4 divers entered the water with special curved knives, no cage, no steel barrier, nothing between them and an animal powerful enough to kill a person with one reflexive strike from her tail. To us, those divers were the rescue team. To the whale, they may have looked like death, swimming closer with blades. Her body should have panicked. Every survival circuit should have screamed, "Fight, dive, strike, get away." And yet, in some rescues, something breaks the pattern. The animal stops. It watches. It lets the human in. So what is that? Trust? Instinct? Exhaustion? Or can wild animals actually read our intentions? Here's the uncomfortable part. Wild animals are not sitting there judging your character. They are not asking whether you are kind, ethical, patient, or carrying good intentions. Their nervous system is running a much older program. How fast are you moving? Are you coming straight at me? Are your eyes locked on mine? How close are you? What do you smell like? What sounds are you making? And most important, where is the exit? That's the whole courtroom. No speeches, no mercy, just evidence. And in that system, humans usually do not enter as neutral. We enter as danger. A lot of animals do not need a bad personal experience with people to fear us. That fear can be baked in through evolution, inherited pressure, and generations of being chased, trapped, shot, captured, handled, relocated, or killed. That whale in the water was not evaluating human kindness. She was reading motion, distance, sound, pressure, shape, and threat. And when an animal is already trapped, that system gets even more brutal. There is no room for curiosity, no room for benefit of the doubt. The body has already made the call. Human approaching, threat rising, escape impossible. Which makes the next part so strange. Because if these animals are wired to fear us, then the moments when they stop fighting are not cute little rescue stories. They are biological anomalies. Because once an animal is trapped, the injury is only part of the story. The real disaster is what happens inside the body. The heart rate does not just rise. It can spike like an engine redlining with no way to shut off. The breathing gets short and shallow. The pupils blow wide open. Muscles lock so hard the animal can look almost frozen, even while every system inside it is burning through fuel. This is not fear the way we talk about fear. This is the body declaring martial law. A deer caught in a fence is not calmly processing pain. A wolf with its leg in a trap is not weighing options. A whale tangled in rope is not thinking through strategy. At that point, panic can become louder than the wound itself. For that whale, panic was machinery failing under pressure. Every breath had a deadline. Every rope changed the math. If she fought too hard, she wasted oxygen. If she rolled the wrong way, the lines tightened. If she dove too deep, the weight could pull her down. That is the cruelty of being trapped. The body is built to survive by moving, but the trap turns movement into punishment. And in some cases, panic is what kills them. Wildlife experts call one version of it capture myopathy, stress-induced muscle breakdown. The animal fights so hard for so long that its own survival response starts destroying it from the inside. Here is the part most people miss. Some animals do not die in the trap. They die after being freed. The rescue can be successful, and the body can still lose the war hours later. Now add a human moving closer. The hands come in. The metal tool comes out. The body reads the scene like a closing hunt. And right there, at the highest point of fear, something strange sometimes happens. They stop fighting. Then comes the part rescuers talk about in a lower voice. The fight drops out. Not always, not cleanly, but often enough that it demands attention. An animal that was thrashing like a live wire suddenly goes still. The head turns. The eyes stay locked. The body is no longer trying only to get away. It starts watching. That shift matters because the animal is not thinking, this person has good intentions. That is a human sentence, and nature does not write sentences that polite. The animal's brain is asking something much older and much colder. Does this match the pattern of something that kills? That is threat pattern recognition. A predator closing in usually has a rhythm: direct approach, fast pressure, sudden movement, teeth, claws, grabbing, dragging. The whole scene has a shape. But a rescuer does not move like that. A rescuer moves slowly, stops often, looks for the rope, the wire, the net, touches the trap instead of the animal, and cuts what is holding the animal down instead of tearing into the body. That is where the alarm system starts to glitch. In that whale rescue, 4 divers spent about an hour cutting lines around a 50-ton body that could kill them with one flick of her tail. One wrong move from the whale, and the rescue becomes a recovery. But the expected violence did not come. The blade went under the rope, not into the skin. The hands pulled at the lines, not the flesh. And for a while, the whale held position. Not like a pet, not like an animal performing gratitude for a camera. More like a body waiting to see whether the threat was real. The threat pattern was incomplete. So is that surrender? Or is that the first crude shape of trust? To understand that, we can not only look at what happens before the animal is free, we have to look at what it does after. Most animals run the second they are free, and that makes sense. No farewell, no eye contact, no perfect little moment for the camera, just open space and survival. That is the normal ending, which is why the other ending is so hard to ignore. When the last rope came off that whale, the clean survival move was obvious. Leave, dive, disappear, and put distance between her body and every human in the water. But in some accounts, she did not vanish immediately. She circled, came near, and moved around the divers who had just cut her loose. Some divers later said she gently nudged them, one by one, as if acknowledging what had just happened. That is where the easy explanations start running out of road. There was no rope now, no food reward, no command, no reason to stay. And still, she remained for a moment longer than survival required. Whales are not the only animals that complicate the story. An elephant may reach out with its trunk and touch the hand that pulled it from the mud. A rescued animal may turn back at the tree line and look at the person who opened the trap. Some animals even recognize a specific human years later, not as a random food source, but as someone different from the rest. One answer may be memory. Not the cartoon version, where animals only remember snacks and commands. Real memory, social memory, emotional memory. The brain does not file every experience with the same weight. A boring afternoon gets stored like a receipt in a junk drawer. But terror, pain, and relief get burned in deeper. In large social mammals, emotional memory can last for years, not days. The brain does not treat a life or death rescue like ordinary information. The hippocampus helps tag experiences with emotional weight, and in social animals, that tag can attach to individuals. A face, a voice, a smell, a shape in the water, a set of hands that showed up at the worst moment and somehow made the pressure stop. That does not prove gratitude. Science cannot honestly say, yes, that whale was saying thank you. But it also cannot lazily dismiss every one of these moments as reflex. There is a difference between familiarity and trust. Familiarity says, I have seen you before. Trust says, I will lower my defenses when every instinct tells me not to. And when an animal is free to leave, not hungry, not trapped, not forced, and still chooses to move back toward the human who released it, that behavior deserves an explanation. So do they actually know? The honest answer is, not in the clean human way we want. A trapped wolf is probably not thinking, this person has arrived with moral intent to perform a rescue operation. A whale is probably not forming a sentence like, these divers are here to save me. That is our language, our courtroom, our hallmark version of the scene. Nature is rougher than that. The animal may not understand help as an idea, but it can understand pressure changing. It can understand pain decreasing. It can understand that the thing approaching is not biting, not chasing, not tearing, and not dragging it deeper into danger. The human comes close, but the attack never comes. The blade touches the rope, not the skin. The hands remove the trap, not the animal's life. The pattern changes. And for social animals with complex memory, whales, elephants, primates, dolphins, certain birds, that may be enough to cross a line we still do not have the right words for. Is that gratitude? Maybe not the way humans define it, but calling it nothing is just as lazy. Maybe the better question is this: how much does an animal need to understand before it chooses not to flee, not to attack, and to remain beside the creature that just set it free? Science has limits. It should. It can measure heart rate, stress hormones, memory pathways, and recognition patterns. It can track behavior, compare cases, and tell us what is likely happening inside the nervous system. But it cannot climb inside the mind of a whale after the last rope falls away. It cannot stand behind the eyes of an elephant when its trunk rests on the hand that pulled it out of the mud. So the clean answer may never come. And maybe that is the point. Wild animals do not need to become little humans in fur, feathers, or skin for their experience to matter. They do not need our vocabulary to feel fear. They do not need our philosophy to recognize safety. They do not need a word for relief to move differently after the danger is gone. Sometimes the evidence is colder than a confession. The animal was free. It could leave. It did not. It looked back. It came closer. It stayed a few seconds longer than survival required. The animal did not explain itself. It simply made a choice. So maybe the question is not whether animals understand kindness exactly the way we do. Maybe the question is whether we are willing to admit that something can be real before it can be fully explained. If you think wild animals can recognize the humans who help them, say it in the comments. And if you want more stories where nature strips away the comfortable lies we tell ourselves, subscribe.